Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this.
But the whistle goes now. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to the Sutton United Talk Time podcast midweek treat extra. So it's another little episode. Wasn't a planned one, but when you see such a proud father basically tweeting throughout the day, you just got to grab your moments. And joining me today is Ross White, who is one of or all of the under-18 coaches. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, Ross.
Yeah, so I do the under-18s with the Scholar Boys. Obviously do it with Rick Wellard, and also obviously Marvin, obviously heading up the academy. Obviously we work quite close together.
Excellent. And as I said, very proud moment. Obviously you're proud of the boys anyway, but they reached quite far in the cup this year. And we were there last night. Well, obviously you were there last night, but quite a few people popped down last night, including myself, freezing cold, to watch them play Preston North End.
Yeah, no, we of course. I think as an academy, we're proud as the boys. Like you said, anyway. The boys had last night had a great chance to make history. I think it's been 123 years since any under-18s have got into the fourth round through Sutton. So. They had the carrot. Unfortunately, on the night, obviously, it didn't happen. But like I said to the boys last night, they can push their chest out, and they took Preston North End like right to the wire. In my opinion, maybe I think it should have gone the other way. But coming to a penalty shootout, it's a flip of a coin.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of Sutton sports, we know we obviously have an academy, and we know we've got youth teams, but there's probably our knowledge is limited, to say it politely, of what is actually going on. I had Rob Oakes sort of there, and I was just firing every now and then quick question to him. So we're an academy 4, a level 4 academy.
Yeah. So obviously with the first team getting promoted, we went straight into a category 4 academy, which Cat 3 is a sort of like the level where you've got the Wimbledons, the Lutons, the Cambridges, and then it goes obviously to Cat 2 to Cat 1. Cat 1's being the Tottenhams, Chelseas, etc. So we had to go through quite a quick process for the Cat 4. A lot of the stuff, I'll be honest, obviously I only joined it in June, but a lot of the stuff was in place, and obviously that's obviously down to the hard work of Marvin, Rick, and the team. But that got us into obviously playing in the Cat 3 league for the under-18s, which is brilliant. Right. And the process from sort of as soon as we've ticked that box was to now work towards the Cat 3, where the club's going and where the academy's going. Which, a lot of work behind the scenes. But it's really exciting times for the club. In the academy, we've changed training grounds. We've gone into a completely new league. So a lot of changes. Obviously now we're working with scholar boys. Now we can offer scholarships, which again is just exciting stuff. But a lot of hard work.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's certain things I'm just not sure of, and forgive the ignorance. So is the academy status tied to the first team? So if say we went up this year, would the academy go up, and then if we went down, would the academy drop down?
No. So the academy works. So for example, Preston North End being a championship side are a Cat 3. It's just in terms of funding, training grounds, etc. Mm-hmm. So if the first team went up, which fingers crossed they do, we will establish ourselves as a Cat 3.
Right.
And like I said, we're mixing with the likes of lots of big Category 3 clubs that have been in there for years. So we're the new boys.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to just say that because obviously, little old Sutton. Did you know much about Sutton before you joined, or you were supporting?
I used to play for them once
Oh
upon a
yeah,
time.
excellent,
Yeah,
excellent.
once upon a time.
So you're gonna know a bit more about this then anyway, because obviously any half decent player that we've had would be snapped up with Chelsea's, Palace's, Wimbledon's, because we're just little old tiny Sutton in the suburbs. But that can't happen now, can it?
Yeah, so of course, so like us moving to Cat 3, obviously, I don't like using the word, but like obviously you talk about contracts and part of a business model as well for the club. Obviously, it's one to produce players into our first team. Also, we're looking now like not just the under 18s, we're looking from sort of under 8s all the way up to the under 18s.
Right.
You've got the bigger clubs looking at clubs like Sutton for talented footballers, and it can move into stages where money comes involved. And in terms of if a club wanted to take one of our players, technically being Cat 3, they're down on contract. So the financial side pops into it as well, in terms of the academy Cat 3 status. So.
Oh, excellent. And yeah, it's just a big kudos to the club for working hard. I mean, there's lots that we're doing, and this is one of them. Obviously, knowing the club, you would have been just as proud to hear everyone getting worried about the pitch, but not worried because of the first team. It was because of the academy and all the other teams. Was there any kind of worry as the season was starting to progress where you were going to play, or how were the plans already in place?
I mean that business side was probably it's obviously more down to Marvin, the academy manager. But to be fair, Marvin was cool all the way through. He was quite calm, relaxed, considering he was spinning plates. I did at the start of the season. I didn't know if we were going to be playing at the stadium, for different reasons. But to be playing our under 18s games at the stadium at home, it's great for the players, great for the boys, great for the coaches. The boys going to get to play their games on a carpet. I mean, we go to a lot of good training grounds, but like you can see last night, the pitch is immaculate, and they've done a great job in the club just to basically pull that 3G up and put a pitch like that down. So
yeah, no, there's always a big difference between training grounds. I mean, I'm useless at football, but one of my mates played on the Chelsea, the ones up at Cobham. They're lovely, but it's still a training pitch. It's like, and they were Sunday League hackers running around on it.
500 of them as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But on sort of getting back to the match, I know you guys were asking for people to come down. I was like, yeah, I'm going to come down, and I really stupidly did that thing of, I know your game was on Wednesday the 8th. I knew your game was on the 8th, sorry, and I knew I had guests coming on Wednesday, and I had them both at 7 o'clock, and then suddenly I was like, that's the same time. Luckily, my guests were able to come in a little bit earlier last night, and I literally, I'm only up the road, so I pelted down the road, and I just made it as the players came out. Was that quite representative last night of how many people turned up? Because there was a lot of Preston North End fans there.
Yeah, do you know? To be fair, I didn't. We spoke before the game. We're just interested in terms of who was going to turn up, and we spoke about Preston. I think they supplied a coach actually for their supporters, and they made a little bit of noise.
Yeah, there were flags and chanting and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I've got total respect for that. I think coming down all the way from Preston on a Wednesday night in about minus 30 degrees, you got to give them respect. But to be fair, like I love that. I love that for the players as well, because it builds an atmosphere, it builds pressure. But that's part of their development, and that's part of obviously going to go and play first team. That's something they're going to have to deal with and learn from.
I did think I think AB was there as well, and he kind of, when it went to extra time and things got a little bit tense quite early on in the extra time, and players were getting overexcited, he kind of said, "Oh, is it right they should do extra time for this age group?" And I was like, I don't know. They've got to do it sometime. They can't. You've got to have that bit of pressure
Yeah, of course.
Otherwise,
I mean, for me personally, like, it's my opinion. I think it's brilliant. It's the game. Like if you're not going to do it at this age, under 18s, like, it's a great way to practice.
yeah,
A lot of pressure builds on the FA Youth Cup for different reasons. It's almost sometimes too much pressure for boys that age, where they need to look at the bigger picture. It is an important game. It was a great carrot last night for what we've had. But the bigger picture is them to get professional contracts. But I do think also with having games like this, like I said, it comes now with a bit more experience. So they can now say they played in front of a crowd last night against Preston, where it did get tough. But like I said, they're only putting it to their experience and hopefully builds them on their journey. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought again, ignorance, but I don't know. I struggle with with the first team players, but their names are on the back of the shirt because I'm basically blind. So I was always going to struggle with players I didn't know. And I don't like singling out, but I have to say there was two of them that caught the eye, probably because he was on my side of the pitch quite early on. The number 2, your right back, I think he crossed for the first goal.
Yeah.
He seemed quite a strong player, and the number 4, the centre back, quite tall, big guy. They both, all of them played well. Every single player looked very comfortable on the ball. I was kind of like really impressed. They were knocking it around, which is obviously great testament to your guys' coaching. And it didn't look to be a gap between the clubs.
No, I think it's the. I bet it was speaking about you say about the it was Roman who crossed the ball, the right back, brilliant player, got a lot of potential, like loads and loads of potential, good size, strong, athletic. Me and Rick actually had it was a real proud moment, that goal. It was literally, as the saying, one off the training ground. It's something we've been working on the last. It sounds like I would say this, wouldn't it? But it's actually something we've been working on in the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. With a switch of play, the build up to it, and to have the end product was a proud moment, and it's a real proud moment in terms of for the boys, for them, because obviously they get given instructions, they've got objectives when they come into these games, and like that was a massive tick last night. But yeah, the going to your question about the difference between Preston, we didn't obviously Preston were a great side. They're a big club, complete respect to them, but we didn't really want to build it up too much for them at the same time, because I think sometimes you can talk in a change room. If you're playing a club that are in the Championship, you can almost they can feel defeated before they walk out.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's 11 v 11. They're all the same age. On a night like that, it is probably who wants it more. And I completely back the ability of our boys. They still got loads to learn, but that's not a problem. But we're completely back into their potential, their hunger, their desire, and I think that's sort of where we closed the gap last night. Yeah, and full credit to the boys, but obviously full credit to Preston, because they had to do the same, and it was, I can imagine, it was quite a horrible night for them, so, and a long journey back. So
yeah, but the first goal was obviously a nice little team goal, and you were obviously working very hard on that. But our second goal was definite an absolute screamer. That would I mean, if that was in the first team, David Adjaboye, it would have been tweeted over and over and over and over. It was a really good.
The funny thing about that, Mike, it happened. The part of it happened in the first half as well. The ball's dropped out from a corner, and Johnny's got on the ball, and I wanted him, in my head, naturally, I wanted him just to lift it back into the area. But he tried to sort of shoot, and I was thinking, Johnny, what are you doing? Like, that can't be happening. We get caught here. And it happened exactly the same in the second half. Ball come down, and I'm thinking, he's lining up to shoot it. I've told him about this, and then hit the top left-hand corner. It's sort of you hold your hands up, and you're like,
"Don't shoot!" Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a brilliant goal. Struck it really well. Like I said, top left-hand corner. Like from my angle, it looked like he had just absolutely no chance. It was a great moment for him as well. So
yeah, I was on the far side, the curve a bit, and it definitely looked like a very good goal from there, even with my atrocious eyesight. So I did notice one of the players was I tweeted earlier that this was like their last season. So are they all 18 and they all move on, or are some of them slightly younger?
No. So how the academy works with the Scholar Boys, we've got first years and second years. So the second year boys, that will be their last go at the under-18s in the FA Youth Cup, which is another tough one to swallow when it's your last go. A few of them boys last night being first years, they've got another go at it, which is brilliant for them. But like I said, to sort of like to try and go and make history and your last sort of throw the dice, like it makes it that little bit harder for the boys. But like I said, they have to be proud of themselves, like to get to the third round. Like I said, the old Sutton into the third round on a regular basis. Obviously, thanks to Marv and Rick in the past. It's a real good achievement. And hopefully next year, like we said, we can take that step further.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did. This is going to sound like I'm regularly talking to people, but I did when I sort of had the first incarnation of this podcast. I did have Marvin on, and we spoke a little bit about the academy. This was a couple of years ago now, and he said he was very, very strict on the education side, and if you're not doing well in the classes, you're not playing. How is that dealing with it as a coach? I mean.
No, of course. Listen, you want your players playing, and I'll be honest, I'd back Marvin up with that. I think that if you look at the percentages of boys being professional footballers, it's a real tiny percentage, unfortunately. But if you're looking at that, like these boys have got to be doing their education. I think at Sutton, we're trying to build people as well, and it's not just a cliche saying. We're trying to build young men, and I think for them to sort of not do their education but expect to play football, I think it doesn't sit well with the academy. And I think it's morally right to make sure that education comes alongside with football. And like I said, if the boys unfortunately don't make professional football, which harshly might sound like a lot of them actually won't, they have something to fall back on if that's education, if they go to university. So we're strict on that, and I think it's important.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like the kind of thing you'd only have to do once to make a show of it, and people will go whoa, pull their socks up and make sure. But yeah, I do remember Marvin being quite strict on that a couple of years ago, and it's good to know that it's still the case. But yeah. I had many years ago when I was running a Sunday league club at an opposition manager. It was 4 players he wouldn't play because they didn't turn up every week, and he played the players that did, and these 4 players were great. And I've always thought, I wonder what I would do in that situation. I hope I'd make the right decision, but I just wonder what I'd do. So it is good. But one thing, this is going to sound really mercenary, and I don't mean it to sound mercenary, but many years ago, a friend of mine was mates with someone who's quite senior at the Chelsea Academy, and apparently, and again, I don't know how true it is because it's been told that their objective was £10 million a year, or some figure like that, and it was like basically you're not expected to produce for the first team, you're expected to produce players that can then get sold on to other clubs. There's nothing. We don't have figures on that. We know obviously everything costs money, but we're aiming for the first team. Is that fair to say?
I'll be honest. Putting a £10 million price tag on one of our players, I think it's quite a dramatic.
No, I think their idea was they bring through so many players a year, and then they can sell them on to the smaller clubs and make.
No, I think for us, Mike, like obviously coaching the boys, like my interest is in the boys and to help the first team out by sending boys through and having that constant movement of our under 18s, even if it's training with the first team, getting contracts with the first team. My job is to produce players for the first team, but also that the football's football, and there's a business model to it as well. And we see that if we have a player and we've got the likes of Chelsea, for example, stiffing around a player and eventually wanting to sign a player, and the financial side comes in, that's only going to benefit the club as well. My job is to create first team players, but there is a part of side where we don't have a target on it, but it's a real important thing in terms of producing footballers that they might go and play higher, and obviously you get that side of football.
I mean, obviously, so what is there another little step for them now from under 18s? Is there another step before first team, or are they expect to kind of just?
So no, it's a tough one, right? Because I think under 18s to first team there is a jump. So we have a process of players potentially going on loan, that's a real good learning opportunity to go and play some first team football. If they're doing it at a young age, they're obviously on the way up, which is brilliant. You get great experience of going on loan. Some players sometimes see it as a negative, but like it's a real positive experience if you're going on loan to gain that experience and be around first team football. Like Matt has been brilliant in terms of our boys going into train. A lot of Mondays we get a select few that go into train with the first team, and the players are great with them. They put the arm around them. I'm sure they give it a little bit to them as well, which is all about. It's all about experience and about that's the level that these players want to be at. So they're going to have to sort of see the nice side and the not so nice side. But we're building. We've got a good relationship with the first team. And yeah, like I said, we'll just keep cracking on in terms of doing our best to produce players, and obviously that's our job. So
excellent. So if people wanted to come down and watch a few games, is it always at stadium, or do we play elsewhere?
Well, to be fair, how obviously with the pitch being brought up in the summer, I think we've done the first half of the season where we travelled and we were away at every game. So we've got the last part of the season where we've got home games pretty much left, right, and centre, which is brilliant. Brilliant. We're doing well in our under 18s league. Like I said, considering we're new to it, I think I'll be honest, we sort of maybe got the feeling that we were going to go into that league and a lot of bigger clubs would stamp on us, but that hasn't been the case. We were top of the league for about 6 weeks at one point. So we really sort of sending their messages out towards the start of the season. I think we're off the top of my head. I think we're all sort of mid-table at the moment, which is again massive credit to the boys because like they're new to it, they're new to the level. But yeah, they're enjoying the experience. They've done all the away games now. So all the home games will be at the stadium, unless obviously it interrupts the first team.
Right. Yeah. Is that and when are they played?
On Saturday mornings. Saturday mornings. Usually around about 11 o'clock kickoff.
Okay, and anyone's able to come down or?
Yeah.
Same as excellent. So wonderful. That's good news. Especially someone like me who doesn't get to the away game or doesn't go to the away game. So it'd be nice to just wander down. Good stuff.
How did you find last night? I know you find questions. What did you think?
No, honestly, and I'm not saying it because I'm talking to you, and I'm not just doing lip service. It was, I don't do many of the away games because I don't travel for miles and miles and miles. So there has been a little gap in my calendar for these couple of weeks from the first team where they were away at Newport and they're away again at Bradford, and it's like the next home game is 18th. So I was like, kind of like, I want to watch the club. And then when I was seeing it, as I say, right, I've penciled that in, and then I stupidly nearly missed it. But honestly, really enjoyed it. It was a bit different for me because it was even quieter than the old days of Sutton. But it was, a bit different. One thing I really liked actually from the linesman on my side, and I don't know if this happens all the time, the 6 was taking a throw on. And the linesman just basically said, no, come back and start here. And he was like, he didn't move. Look, we all know what you're going to do. So just start from a further back place and then you can steal as much as you want. And I was like, oh, God, that's really, really good. He's not coaching, but he's like, we know what you're going to do, but just don't make it as obvious as you're about to make it. But it was really, really good. I genuinely, I knew there was a gap between the clubs because obviously I know a little bit. But watching it, you would never have thought that. Penalties are horrible anyway, and they're difficult, and you'd always feel sorry for the guys that miss. And I did feel awful because I was tweeting as the penalty shootout was done. I put saved, and then I put missed, and I shouldn't have put that. I should have just not scored or something. It just sounded horrid going missed. But actually, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. The players did really well, and it's really nice to see them. And I know obviously clubs can never officially like these things, but a little bit of tense moments like happened is very nice for team camaraderie. It's always nice to have a little.
It's a shame. It's a shame with the penalties that the boys that did miss out. They're like, I know it's going to sound like generic, but they're brilliant players. Like you in the striker number 9. I'll be honest, like he's one of the most natural finishers I've ever seen at that age, and for him to miss was it.
It's learning. It's a big goalkeeper and a little goal when you're standing there. But he actually had another great little moment. I think it was the first part of the extra time where he harried down the keeper or the central defender and had another really good chance. But yeah, there was lots of them. I could kind of go through and go, oh yeah, this one did this one did that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I was cold, so Saturday mornings might sit a little bit better for me. But yeah, I'll definitely come and sort of stand there on my lonely terrace again.
More than welcome.
Lovely. So I'm going to leave the last word to you to sum up. I know you tweeted earlier, but as I said, it is a bit like a proud daddy moment where some of your tweets today really kind of got me. Oh, come on, I got to talk to this guy. So I'm going to leave you have the last word. And if any of your players listen, you're going to bump up my demographics because it's all over like 40s and 50s at the moment.
No, it was no, like I said, you said it was a proud moment, not just for myself as a coach, but I can talk for Rick, I can talk for Marvin. I think the players they'll only learn from this. They bounce back stronger. They're probably hurting today. They've had the day off today, but we'll be back in tomorrow with Portsmouth on Saturday. So our attention will look to that. But we're gonna have a bit of fun tomorrow. I think, like I said, we prepped a lot for the last couple of weeks on Preston with games in between that as well. So a bit of fun tomorrow in training. I think take the weight off their shoulders probably because they're probably feeling it at the moment. But take the weight off their shoulders. Enjoy training tomorrow, and with these boys where they want to go, it's back to work, and they have to sort of take the positives from last night, and I think there was many positives for individually as a team, as an academy, as a club. We take the positives and move on, and that's all you can do in football. Like I said, they're only gained massive experiences from last night.
Yeah, genuinely, as you were saying that, I was like, I hope they're not feeling too down because penalties, you could almost just go heads or tails. We're going to decide the match on that.
Of course,
it's a difficult one, but yeah, they played really, really well, and as I say, all kudos to them. So yeah, proud Sutton fan watching from the stands.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, thanks a lot for your time. Take care.
No problem, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks a lot. No worries. See you soon. Take care. Bye. United!